Mr. Johnson, you attended an event in 2020. It was called We Don't Call Police. And that same year you said it was a political goal to defund the police.
President Barack Obama took it one step further as well. Basically said that the effort of the defund police movement lost an audience because of that slogan, I guess is what he's calling it. Which I don't look at it as a slogan. It's an actual real political goal.
So, Mr. Johnson, what do you say to Chicagoans who do want more officers in their neighborhoods?
The fact of the matter is we are driving violence down on this city, and we're using every single resource that's available to us. Jails and incarceration and law enforcement is a sickness that has not led to safe communities.
Behind me is the mayor's house. 3 squad cars blocking it, patrolling it, protecting it. For him and his family, yet he calls law enforcement a sickness. What a hypocrite. Piece of garbage.
Mayor Brandon Johnson, in my opinion, the worst mayor in America, said a whole bunch of stupid things the last couple of days, and I had to talk about it because we do talk about really corrupt and incompetent mayors on his channel, and he said this a couple of days ago, that law enforcement is a sickness. And the wild part about this is that Chicago weekends still look like highlights of Call of Duty. So I needed to make it make sense.
The rioters assaulting Chicago's ICE facility don't like the welcome they're getting. Oh, shouldn't stand there. Whoa. Oh, they're throwing stuff? Oh, the paintball snipers are coming into action.
Because blaming cops for Chicago's problems might sound great on, let's say, MSNBC or on Twitter, but in real life, it just seems to be very horrible optics. And when you throw in Johnson's ego-driven fight with Trump refusing the National Guard to help just to score some political points, those optics get even worse because the grudge match doesn't just hurt Trump, it hurts the Chicago residents living through this violence every single day. So let's get into it. So you see in this clip, Mayor Brandon Johnson having a full-on tantrum, getting upset about some of the questions reporters are asking, and then he just goes and says what he has to say.
Mayor Johnson, we've all seen the horrific video of Charlie Kirk being politically assassinated. In Chicago, we saw an ICE agent reportedly run over by an illegal alien. Many people tell me, real Chicagoans tell me, that it's your violent, racist hate speech that is causing people to commit these acts of violence. What do you say to the real Chicagoans who detest what they call the insipid, insidious, boneheaded hate speech that you engage in on a daily basis?
Well, first of all, I don't engage in hate speech.
The remaining question that has yet to be answered, because y'all keep running from it like I'm Marianne Ahern, is what do you, the Illinois Attorney General, and the governor have to offer in lieu of sending in the National Guard, the 101st Airborne, or what have you, to make Chicagoans feel safe in their communities in real time outside of reported statistics and so on?
I think I understand your question. Okay, let me just start with this. How about this? In 1974, there were 970 murders. Okay. 1995, there were 828 murders. 2016, 778 murders. 2021, 805 murders. This has been a problem in this city for a very long time. Now, my deputy mayor, Gatewood, we're offering a better pathway so that we don't have 970 people murdered in our city every single year. But you're not going to convince me that the people of Chicago only deserve law enforcement. I get so sick and tired of people believing that the only thing that black and brown and poor people get to get in this city are badges. People want jobs. It's why we've increased the ability for young people to have jobs in this city. People want health care and behavioral and mental health care. That's what they ask me. That's why we've expanded it. People want to be able to afford to live in this city. That's why I'm building more affordable units. People want justice if they do get wrapped up into this spiral of despair in this city. I get so sick and tired of people in this country and in this city that believes that the only thing that you can offer black people and poor people is jails, incarceration, and police officers. Dr. King said this right here in Chicago, the National Conference on New Politics. What did he say? He said, militarism is a sickness. I am trying to eradicate the sickness from this city and from this country. No, listen, Mark, I get to answer my question now. You've asked it. No, Mark, I've answered my questions. Of course they are. But you're not going to be able to avoid that if we don't do the things that actually work. We are not split on this issue. The fact of the matter is, no one has asked me to send federal troops into this city to make it safe. It has never come up. It never came up during the campaign. It's never come up in the first 2 years. The fact of the matter is, we are driving violence down on this city, and we're using every single resource that's available to us. Jails and incarceration and law enforcement is a sickness that has not led to safe communities.
There it is, talking about militarism is a sickness, but then he flips it to say that law enforcement is a sickness.
Mayor Brandon Johnson is now addressing comments that he made earlier this week when he referred to law enforcement as a sickness.
Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson not backing away from the comments he made Tuesday.
Dr. King referred to militarism as a sickness, and I've said this multiple occasions, and my position is still very clear. The addiction of jails and incarceration is one that we have to wean ourselves off of.
And the problem is, when he gets really riled up and triggered, he's not able to explain himself correctly, or I think maybe he's just saying what he really wants to say. But I do get some of the points he is trying to make. The prison system, the prison industrial complex, over-incarceration, relying only on cops to fix deeper societal problems doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Cops are there to enforce the law. They're not there to fix the cultural issues, because that's the biggest issue that we have here. It's a cultural problem. But people must be held accountable. You have the gang violence. You have all this bad, destructive, toxic behavior damaging the neighborhoods. We can work on rehab and social programs later, but first, you need to get the people who are doing terrible, horrible things. They need to sit down for a while. They need to be in jail. They need to pay the price. Accountability needs to be focused first before you can try to figure out all the other stuff that's going on. And when the mayor of Chicago stands up and says law enforcement is a sickness, then is gang violence a sickness? Is gang violence better, worse? It sounds like self-sabotage. We could talk about Chicago's crime stats. Homicides are down this summer, but the city still leads the nation in raw numbers. Chicago did have the lowest summer homicides since 1965, which sounds pretty good, but then you realize there's still 123 murders in 3 months. I don't know if that's much of progress or just slightly less tragedy. So you see the big problem here. Cops already feel like City Hall doesn't have their back, especially in Chicago. Morale is low, retirements are up, recruiting is down. Would you want to be a cop in Chicago?
Crime in Chicago. People scared throughout neighborhoods on the west side, south side, north side. Morale has never been lower with law enforcement and CPD. Record number of police officers leaving the force. We have been hemorrhaging people out of the city of Chicago to the suburbs and elsewhere where they feel safe. Record number of businesses fleeing the city of Chicago. You couple that with record deficits, the $2 billion deficit line of credit that you just had to take out this week. But you've spent $300 million of taxpayer money on illegal immigrants. So, recent poll, M3 Strategies, conducted this February 20th to 21st, showed that Mayor Johnson has a 6.6% approval rating, the worst showing of any political figure in the country's history.
And the last thing you want as a mayor, your police force thinking that you're rooting against them. You have cops out there risking their lives. Right or wrong, they want to believe that the mayor respects the risk. Instead, Johnson's handing them a Hallmark card that just says, well, get well soon. It's not just bad messaging, it's a morale killer. Imagine putting on that bulletproof vest every day, not knowing if tonight's the night that you don't come back home and your boss is on TV calling you a sickness. And mind you, Mayor Brandon Johnson has 24-hour protection from the very policeman that he calls a disease.
Behind me is the mayor's house. 3 squad cars blocking it, patrolling it, protecting it, for him and his family. Yet he calls law enforcement a sickness. What a hypocrite. Piece of garbage. The reality is, if Brandon Johnson was not mayor of City of Chicago and still working for CTU, he'd be picketing, protesting, and demanding defunding of the police department every single chance he got. Period. He has always hated us. He still hates us. He just can't say what he wants to publicly. But 2 days ago, the truth came out a little bit because he lost control. And believe him when he says it, that he believes we are a sickness. That's just who he is.
You don't have to love the police to see how reckless and irresponsible that is. Low morale is going to lead to bad recruiting. Bad recruiting leads to fewer cops on the street, fewer qualified cops on the street. And fewer cops means slower response time, more unchecked crime, and neighborhoods that already feel abandoned slipping even further into the abyss is a domino effect that puts regular people in danger, not just the politicians and city hall. Imagine being a police officer in Chicago. When the morale is tanking, accountability inside that force will drop too. Officers who feel abandoned are less motivated to do the job right, and that breeds its own problems. You end up with a cycle where criminals feel emboldened because the cops are demoralized and the public feels betrayed on both sides. This is why accountability has to be cut both ways. Citizens must feel real consequences when they break the law, but leadership also has to show that they got the backs of the people doing the hard, dangerous work. Pretending cops are a disease doesn't solve the sickness, it just makes the patient bleed out faster. Optics matter, and right now Johnson's optics looks like a really bad Photoshop image. Stretched, distorted, and fake to everyone who has to live with the consequences. It's not just the words, it's about how those words ripple through morale, recruitment, crime, and ultimately the lives of the people who are living in Chicago who deserve safety. Let's not forget, when he ran for mayor, Johnson was the defund the police guy. He tried to rebrand it later as reinvestment in communities, but the receipts are still there. Then came the Trump issue. Trump offered National Guard to help during crime spikes, and Johnson, instead of thinking about the city, makes it all about himself and his ego. He basically says, we don't need Trump's help. Like, bro, your city looks like a live-action Grand Theft Auto game, and you're too busy going back and forth with the bad orange man to take the backup. Meanwhile, Chicago still leads the nations in total murders year after year. Over the Labor Day weekend, 58 people were shot, 8 of them fatally, and 37 separate shootings. And during that same stretch, Johnson refused that federal help, apparently more focused on ego than saving lives. Or some people may believe more focused on immigration, the people who just showed up compared to the people who've been there for decades. That fight with Trump doesn't just play well on Twitter, it's killing the people in Chicago. At some point, it's not about Trump. It's about the people bleeding in your streets. Police unions are pissed off because the officers want their mayor and their public officials to have their back while they're out there risking their lives to protect the people. And when the top official treats them like an enemy, it's going to cut deep, and it doesn't stop there. And look, every Chicago mayor had to deal with crime. They all failed. Rahm Emanuel failed, Lori Lightfoot failed, and with Johnson, he just found a new way to fail faster. Chicago's problem isn't just law enforcement. They are in debt, problems with schools, they have problems with housing. And it's impossible to fix those problems by trashing the very people standing between your city and full-blown chaos, but that is Brandon Johnson for you. Brandon Johnson says law enforcement is a sickness. Well, corruption is a sickness, and Brandon Johnson has tons of those corruption issues, taking kickbacks, spending thousands of dollars on his hair and makeup, and on his wife building a nice office. So the problem is in Chicago, the symptoms are very deadly, and it's all Chicago politics. All symptoms and no cure. So let me know what you guys think about this situation in the comments below. I believe that Brandon Johnson should be a one-term mayor. He is a total disaster. He's not really... there's no charisma in this individual. He doesn't like when he gets pressed with hard questions. He looks very confused and frustrated when the questions aren't, I guess, softball type of questions. He gets very agitated, and what he has been doing for the last couple of years has been terrible. He spent more money on an immigration situation than solving the crime. Now the budget is out of control. There's not enough money to fund anything. Why would these people reelect him? Let me know in the comments below. Do you believe that this guy is going to get reelected when it's time for him to do his thing? So let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.